All right. Welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast, a very, very special edition version. This is episode 111. I am your host, Supreme King. Joined with me, as always, is my co host, and his name is.
Ishikayo Mazes.
Yeah, and so I want to apologize in advance if there is some echoing at all, but we're actually doing this not remote. We're doing this in the same location today because we got some other stuff we're gonna do afterwards. But yeah, man, we in the same location. How you doing? How's everything,
We're
man?
doing all right, man. We one step away from just being on the couch and just talking.
Oh yeah, like some of the professional podcasters out there that kind of just like they had like a whole setup where they're just like right in the same room and then you can see split
Yeah.
screen and stuff. I mean, if we can get some some production money coming in, maybe we can do that. That would be
Hey,
kind of cool.
I gotta get that one room less echoey, and then we good.
Yeah, it's
Gotta
gonna
feel
be a little
comfortable.
echoey today because we're in like we're pivoting. We're trying to like make do because I couldn't set up for our normal time in my normal spot because I had some personal things going on. But now I'm hanging out at the homie's crib. You know, we out here in a secure location, Area 51, and we're gonna handle some business with the Ambernick RG40 XXV later. We're just trying to set
You
up the devices to make sure that they run perfectly or at least have all of the games in there that we want before there's some custom firmware. But we may not even do custom firmware just because if the stock firmware works good enough, I don't even know if we really need to do it. But anyways, we're live. Well, this is gonna go out tomorrow, but a lot of big things happened this week, and I wanted to get into some of it. I'm glad that we were able to still do this and figure it out because I didn't want to miss some of these topics. So the first topic, we're actually just going to jump into Nintendo, since we got Nintendo footage on the screen. We could probably keep it light on the smaller topic for Nintendo, and then we'll go in depth with the bigger one. So the smaller topic was basically there are some alleged Switch 2 leaks that went out there. And I say alleged because I don't know if that was a real graphic or not. I just know it's been passed around. But for anybody who didn't know, the Switch 2's like, who want to say like alpha build or something of just the hardware was kind of just leaked, and it just looked like a thin, stretched out version of the Switch 2, basic or the regular Switch. You know, it didn't look like too much was going on. It kind of just looked like they thinned out the Switch OLED, and
yeah,
it looked almost the same. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
it does look exactly the same. I didn't expect it to be. I don't know what I expected. I didn't expect it to be like radically different. Uh, from like the Switch, I didn't expect it to be like looking extra brand new. Um, but I also didn't expect it to just look bigger. Like I expected a little bit more design. Uh, do we know if it's gonna function better, or is it right now just bigger?
So right now, all we know is basically this is what it looks like, and we probably don't even know if that's like their final design. But basically, it's just here it is, and it's going to be bigger. It looks like it's going to be a little bit more wider. I'm a little disappointed because of how it looks because it gives the impression to me that it might not be the upgrade that we were wanting it to be because I feel like we wanted it to be at the very least matching the Rogue Ally or matching the Steam Deck. Even if it didn't beat it, I feel like it at least needs to match it. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. You like we have what the Steam Deck, Lenovo, the ROG. Like everybody's coming out with their own. You cannot release one that's weaker. Like you're not justifying buying yours because it cannot be weaker. It has to be at least on par. Uh, Otherwise, there's no reason to get it, right? Like if it's still because if it's weaker, that means it is still behind. right? Like where everybody else touting 4K and yours is basically 720. You can't just be like, hey, look, now it's 1080. Like it has to. You need to catch up.
Yeah, I agree a
Or
little
stick to
bit.
handheld. Like no one really cared when they were like really handheld, right? Like nobody was like, how does the DS measure up to the PS2, right? Like no one did that. So if you don't want to have your system, I guess, compared to the others, um, like in a way, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is either stick to handheld, right, stuff, or I don't know. You gotta like if you're not gonna have it compete like performance wise, then you also can't try and compete price wise. Right? Like if their games were all like we're just maxing our games out at like $40 and everything, and like we do 1080 because that's what it is and that's what our system is, then I can justify it. I think it's a little bit better. But you can't be busting out $70 prices, $60 prices, and your games are like performance wise 2 generations back or a generation back. That's just not cool.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed mainly too because I think that the system is going to be basically only good enough to handle its first party, but it's not going to be able to do day and date with third party, and we're going to be in the same situation where it's like here's a game a year and a half later, it looks infinitely worse compared to everything else, kind of like Mortal Kombat
Mm-hmm.
1 and some of the other games and stuff. Or you have a situation where the games are not even able to fit on the cartridge itself, you know? And they have to be
Mm-hmm.
some sort of weird cloud version. And it's like, well, I could just play on, any other device, the PlayStation, the Xbox, the PC. I don't even need to do it here and waste my time. Because I was hoping that, like, if, they got their hardware up to par, then the games can come out day and date, which takes away some of the power away from like PlayStation, for example, for them like say, hey, our PS5 Pro is the be all end all system, you know. Basically, like if their system was to catch up, then it's not. You know what I mean? And they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Then PlayStation can't do a lot of their, monopoly style things that they're doing right now, which we're going to get to in the next topic. With their hardware and stuff, and like all this stuff that they're doing with their software and stuff. They wouldn't be able to do that if another competitor was coming out day and date with like the same games,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is kind of, I mean, the elephant in the room is like, well, what about Xbox? It's like, well, I don't know what Xbox is doing right now. They kind of trying to put everything everywhere, and I think that puts PlayStation in a position where they feel like, well, we are the be all end all, right? I would like for Nintendo to step up in that way for their hardware, because at the same time, like obviously they're going to do some of the same marketing that PlayStation and Xbox did with their other systems, and that's like, oh, it's going to run Switch games better. Like we're finally 60 FPS for some of these games, right? Or we're finally 4K for some of these games when it's docked or something like that. Like I feel like that's the only thing that they can go off of, but I would like for the Switch to have party chat, right? To have Discord possibly, like all these other features that you would get from the other systems, like having the ability to record your own gameplay and stuff like that. Like, I would like for them to catch up technology wise, but when I see that device, it don't look like they were probably going for that, and it's a little unfortunate. But at the same time, they're still going to come with their software. I think they're going to still, have a big launch with both Mario and like Zelda games, and then like whatever else, a Pokemon game maybe. I think they're going to definitely come with their software. Um, Hardware wise, I don't know. I don't know. Is it a day one buy though? Do you think it's a day one buy for you?
The system? No.
Yes.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
I don't think so. Not at all. Like, I need to hear about it. I need to know there's going to be games on it, right? Like, Look at what we're running into with even with PlayStation, where you doubted this system and now you're trying to say you need the new one to play the games well, right? So I need to know that there's a good library, that is gonna run stuff well, that we're not gonna get that MK1 repeat. And honestly, I need to know why I need this above the Switch that I currently have. I don't feel like I need it. Like I'm not seeing what's gonna like make that much of a difference. So we'll see. So other than that, nah. What about you?
I think initially the Switch 2 is going to have the same type of problem for a lot of people that the PS5 Pro is having currently. But at the same time, there's going to be like one either game or one like really cool looking hardware, like a type of color scheme or something that they're going to do that's probably going to change a lot of people's mind. Um, which it's just going to work in their favor, I guess. But that's what we're seeing with the PS5 Pro. We'll get to that when we get to it. But it's like I think because that graphic was like a pure all gray, like kind of like dark gray tint graphic of just the device. That's not how it's gonna look. Obviously, they're gonna have it like a bright colors, red and blue. They're probably gonna have like a special edition looking one. They're gonna, because even if you look at like the Switch OLED has had some like really nice looking designs. They're obviously gonna follow suit. You know what I mean? And I think that might be enough for people to overlook it. I do think it would be bold for them to try to do a price that's more than 500, like how PlayStation's doing right now. I think that would be way out of the question. If they don't do that, they'll probably be okay. Like if they try to do 400, I honestly believe they're gonna go for the full 500. But I don't know if they would go past it. If they go past it, that's extra bold. That's when we'll have issues with them, similar to the PS5 Pro. But I honestly think at the end of the day, they'll come out with a really colorful looking one that's going to make people like say, you know what, I don't care, I still want it. And that'll be the thing for it. But yeah, at the end of the day, when it comes to the hardware, Nintendo is going to win just because everybody is so used to buying their stuff. I don't think the emulation scene, like the Rogue Ally and the Steam Deck, I don't think people are going to emulate the Switch 2 that much. Only the really, really PC enthusiasts are going to do it. But I do think they're doing a disservice overall if you're looking at, like, let's say the Lenovo and the Ally X still being able to play Switch 2 games perfectly, but then the Switch 2 games are still kind of underpowered on its own device. That's going to be a big problem if we still have that type of situation going on at the beginning of the generation. And Nintendo's thought process is like, well, let's not make a hardware that's actually capable. Let's just sue everybody. That seems to be their solution, is let's just sue everybody instead of let's try to step up and make better hardware or even software. And that's going to lead us into our next topic, because they're deciding, hey, we'll just sue, and that's how we've solved this problem. And who did they just sue, man? You want to tell me about this, man? What's going on?
Bro, how you gonna sue Palworld now? Like, this game has been out. This game has been talked about. People have kind of stopped talking about it to a degree, right?
Yeah.
Like, when you bring up, like, it comes up when you go, like, ooh, what's still gonna be Game of the Year? And it's like, oh yeah, Palworld is still a contender. But no one's like regularly like, what'd you do on Palworld yesterday? And now is when they're like, hey, you stole our ass. That is ridiculous.
I heard from like there are some lawyer channels out there that I follow every now and then. I was hearing that they were trying to find a way to sue based on the character designs, and it wasn't working, because I think Palworld did their homework initially, and that's when they came out with like, well, no, it's because of our patents, right? And which is kind of like a weird thing in itself, because I think you and me talked about this off air a few days ago. Like, there are still other games out there that are still Monster Hunter games. There's literally a game called Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter, all of that. And then there was like that whole monster taming direct that I watched, right? That was just packed with all these type of games where all you do is walk around and you tame and do things with the monsters and stuff. And so it's like, it sounds like they're trying to say, no, we're the only ones who can do it. But it's like, if this is the case, then they would sue Digimon. Digimon would sue them like every other year when somebody comes out. You know what I'm saying? It would just be really ridiculous because everybody has a Monster Hunter game at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, like I think I mentioned it to you. One, not only do you like you don't own, you might have the most popular, but you don't own the monster catching genre. I mean, Dragon Quest came out before you, and that had monster catching, right? Like you don't own the monster catcher, you just have the popular one. With that said, though, and I mentioned this to you, there's only so many ways you can draw a cat, right? There's only so many ways you can draw an electric cat. So you're bound to eventually somebody's is going to look like somebody else's. Because it's like, it's not fair to be like, well, we own electric cat. You don't. And I don't like this idea because there are some good indie monster catching games. Like there's one that I started playing that I'm about to get back into that I raved about before, Cassette Beast, that we've shown on the channel. And I've even seen jokes where people say, like, they're like, you know, oh, Pokemon 2 and Palworld. And they're like, Palworld has nothing to worry about. Cassette Beast, though, was like a joke. But they're trying to say that, like, the Cassette Beast is a little more Pokemon-like. So they need to really watch out. And it's like, I would hate for any of these, like, indie studios to get shut down for just trying to do something, right? Like, can you imagine if, like, people, like, this reminds me of the React Brothers. When they were trying to sue anybody who used the word react because they're trying to say that they own it. And it's like, you don't own the word react. You got the popular reaction channel, but everybody on YouTube is doing reaction channels now. And now all of a sudden you're trying to patent it and be like, they copied us. And it's like, that's ridiculous. Like,
yeah, I remember that too.
Popular doesn't mean you own it, and that's what I feel like Pokemon's doing.
Because they were trying to make it to where, like, if you did reactions, period, then you would have to give them some money or whatever.
Yeah, and that's so silly.
Yeah, they really tried it. And now this is the level that Pokemon is on, and it's kind of weird too because, in a way, they're kind of salty at the level of the game has gotten. You know, because it like with other games when the games were like, you know, like not really as popular, but they still did somewhat the same stuff. Like they didn't bat an eye, you know, because it's like this has been happening this whole time. Like other games have been coming out, and they've been like, you know, like different versions of Monster Hunter-ish games. You know what I mean? And
that's the other thing too. You like, why are you getting upset about this? Is now I get it that it got popular, but no one's calling, like, no one's gonna say Palworld is now replacing Pokemon, right? Like Pokemon is too popular. There's gonna be, I'm a Pokemon loyalist, like I play Pokemon games. I'm gonna continue to play Pokemon games, and it's like maybe you didn't get the whole Game of the Year category because like you're not really innovative. You do the same thing, and then this last game was when you tried to be innovative with like open world stuff, but it was so bad in terms of quality that it wasn't gonna make it. But it's like, be a little more innovative. Try it. Like, don't get mad at the competition. Like, it's not even competition. Don't get mad at the other people who did it. And I honestly, I wonder if this would have like if this lawsuit would be going on if people didn't label the game as Pokemon with guns.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing, like calling it Pokemon with guns, and they themselves never did it. They allow like almost everybody else to do it.
Yep.
And I was just like, I remember thinking like eventually somebody's gonna say something about that, but it just wasn't happening yet. But it still wasn't their fault at the end of the day, because if you scrape the internet, you'll find out that they did not actually use that term in any promotion. that was the YouTubers, that was the streamers, that was everybody who said any type of detail about this game. It was almost to the point where before the game came out, you never mentioned Palworld without mentioning Pokemon, right? It always happened. But again, it was never Palworld directly. They had no marketing material or nothing that said it. The most you could say is like some of the people looked similar, but even then, that was still reaching it because it's like you said, there's only so many ways you can draw a cat. It's funny because like whenever I see a dragon in a movie or in a game, like they look almost identical to me. You know, it's like I don't sit there and think like, oh, that dragon looks like a Game of Thrones dragon, or this dragon looks like a dragon from like the dragons you fought in God of War, or the dragons you fought in Skyrim.
Lore from Dungeons and Dragons, like.
Yeah, it's like whoever said dragon the first time is who gets the credit or something. It's like you would literally have to go all the way back to something like the Bible or something with that logic. It's like that's not the case at all. And you know, it's just weird to me that Pokemon, or not Pokemon, but Nintendo gets away with these kind of things, because with the other places or the other situations, it was really just they were picking on the little guy, right? They were picking on the guy who did not either have expensive lawyers, or they probably didn't know the lingo of like what's legal, what's not legal, and they just think Nintendo has this reputation. I don't want to be in the way of Nintendo, right? I think that's what the thought process was with a lot of other places, because that Yuzu emulator got taken down almost immediately. Like it was like they did not even try to fight for that emulator. And I mean, you can still go and get it if you just go find the file, but it's like just the official Yuzu emulator. Like I find it to be odd to be like all of a sudden Nintendo just owns the emulator. I'm like, what type of stuff is that? Like, how did that happen? But nobody challenges or fights it or go to court or anything. They just let it happen. And I'm like, how do you just own an emulator? You know what I mean? That was not your emulator just because people used it to play the games. Because it's still, you know, you're still able to, you know, back up your own games. You do not have to like, you know, you don't have to answer to anybody for backing up your own games. But, you know, they did that there. And not only that, I remember Nintendo took a shot at GitHub, because GitHub had the official instructions on how to do stuff. And it was just like, how do you attack GitHub? You know what I mean? It's like, that's where you go do like a lot of software stuff. Like a lot of these people are like computer software engineers and stuff. They're not worried about GitHub. Like it was just kind of like goofy, or they're not worried about Nintendo, you know? Like it was just one of those things where I'm just like, how is Nintendo getting away with this? But the only reason is because they're not challenging, everybody's not challenging Nintendo or going to court with it. Palworld is a very unique situation right now because they actually did make the money, right? And so they have a very, very important choice. Either you let Nintendo get what they want, or you lawyer up and you fight for your brand, because you have a brand now overnight. And you can fight for your brand, because it's not fair that all of a sudden, you know, your stuff is just being like used or whatever. Like your stuff is being like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're being taken from you basically, and being told that you owe them a percentage just because of like monsters and stuff. Because there's dragons in a lot of games. Like I think God of War is on the screen somehow now. There's dragons in God of War. There's dragons in Pokemon. I think there's dragons in Digimon. There's dragons in the Bible, for crying out loud. Like nobody can just say they own the dragons. Like it's just kind of goofy, right? But they're trying to say like it's patents and stuff. The only thing you could really give them is that Palworld had like a Pokeball kind of thing, right? That was like one of the only things I could really like say that was like, yeah, that's probably something that you took from Nintendo a little bit. But at the same time, that's still like, well, games have racing games, you know, or race cars and stuff. Games have like more than one game has a Corvette in it, you know, more than one game, and that's like a direct car, and more than one game will have like the Grand Theft Auto games have like the real cars and the like fake versions of them in there. You know what I mean? And it's like you're not taking down the big guy. You're only taking down little guys. You know, like they can go into that Monstertainment Direct and just like run over that whole thing. And it's just people just trying to, you know, make games, you know, because they have a passion for it. I just find it to be a little odd because literally Nintendo has had a few different situations now where they've been able to do like what they've wanted to do, but I felt like they've overstepped their boundaries a lot of times. Like the situation where you demanding that GameStop fire a certain employee, it's just like how do you don't make that call, or how they were trying to demand that Discord opens up Discords so that they can see who's been sharing games and stuff within Discords. It's like you don't get to go in people's Discords. You know what I'm saying? That's almost like the situation in real life where you know, we were talking about the government like being able to see your emails a long time ago with like that one dude who's in Russia. I forgot his name, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's almost like on the level of what they were doing. And it's like you're not a entity that controls land. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to make them type of decisions. You make video games, and that's the end of it. You might have a plushie thing or a you know, a pillow or a T-shirt outside of that, and you got an amusement park in Japan. That's the end of it. That's where it stops. Like you don't get to do all these type of things. But because nobody challenges them, no, Nintendo does get to do these type of things, and I don't understand it because, you know, there's one particular thing, and I didn't know I was gonna go there with this podcast, but I'm gonna say it a few more times later. But do you have anything else you want to say about this topic, real quick, before I go there? I want to go there.
Nintendo just do better.
Yeah, because they're still gonna come out with their own like Pokemon game. Soon, right? And then another one that they announced. Like
there was one that was announced that was supposed to take place like in the future ish. In the same way Pokemon Legends Arceus took place in the past. This is supposed to be a new Pokemon Legends game.
But you know what's goofy about it is like the only thing you can really say is that the marketing from the people they mention Pokemon kind of just to like screw with them and make them mad and stuff. But it's like the thought process though for the people is that they wanted a better Pokemon game, and they also wanted to have like a breath of fresh air from the formula. You know what I'm saying? But you would think Nintendo would say like, okay, we're going to make sure that we have like a multiplayer element in there or something. Or you don't even have to actually do like they don't even have to actually do, you know, shooting guns or whatever. They literally have a whole franchise over there called Splatoon. How easy would it have been if they was just like, okay, we're going to have it where, you know, you shoot Splatoon paintballs or something at our creatures or something. And you know what I mean? Like if you was just really like wanting to copy or something. I don't know what's going on, but at the very least, I always thought it was unacceptable that they had a game where it's Pokemon, you trade with your friends and stuff, but you can't battle. You can't run around in the same world, see each other in the world, and then just battle. And in real time, we got a whole game on a whole nother system called Grand Theft Auto 5, where everybody's in the same world, wreaking havoc, doing all type of stuff, right? And they can coexist in that world, and there's like no problem for them whatsoever. But somehow you can't do that in Pokemon. And I'm like, how is Palworld like copying Pokemon at the end of the day when it's a full multiplayer game and you shooting guns? It's not turn-based. There's like no turn based in the game. And then not only that, you doing a whole bunch of like you doing a whole bunch of building and crafting and all this other stuff. Like you don't do that in Pokemon at all. It's like like how is it really the same? The only thing they can go off of is just the marketing, I guess. Like you knew Nintendo wanted to do it. They was finding some way to say something because Palworld made so much money and so quickly. The player base was so high, so fast. And what I think is that they thought of it as a threat. Palworld is a legit threat. Everybody else is not. Everybody else is just kind of there. They just have their game. Palworld looked like a threat immediately. It almost looked like for a split second it was more of a threat than Digimon. You know what I'm saying? They probably looked at Digimon no different than how PlayStation probably perceives Xbox. It's like, okay, you're going to always be there next to us, but we're going to always be considered better for X, Y, and Z reason, right? Well, Palworld just exploded out the gate. It was like you had no time to really like grasp the magnitude of how it just caught on. And I really think that they probably was shooken up about it to their core. They had to figure out something. And I knew they were going to try to sue eventually. I just think it's a little silly. I really hope that this particular case it can go the distance, just like an Activision type thing. It can go the distance, but I hope Palworld wins in the end, because I don't want to have developers all of a sudden deciding we don't want to make our games. We don't want to, you know what I mean? Like we don't want to have this cool idea of this type of thing, but we don't want Nintendo to come and try to ruin us and stuff. This is very anti-consumer for me. My thought process would have been, like, if anything, partner with them, sign them or something, like figure out a way to say, hey, you got something good over there. We want to like bring some of what you're doing over here, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like something like that would have been pro-consumer. You know what I mean? There's a game out there called Daymare 1998 and 1994, I believe. They made their game, and Capcom with Resident Evil, everybody knows Resident Evil, they actually brought those developers in and taught them how to do some of the stuff they were lacking in, sent them on their way, basically giving them the blessing to basically make their own game where they were doing the same thing. And that's more the same as like that's more the same of Resident Evil 2 and 3 compared to like Palworld is to Pokemon, because the mechanics was the same. You still did the same thing. You shot zombies. You still ran around and stuff. Like, and they brought them in, helped them make their own franchise. It never stopped Resident Evil, obviously. Resident Evil went on ahead to make the Netflix show. They did Resident Evil 4 remake, Resident Evil 8. You know what I mean? It never stopped them. But it was pro-consumer. Somebody like me, I have access to all Resident Evil, and I have access to all of, any of the Daymare games. And I do have both of them, right? And, like, the way this is looking is like, if they were to win, if somehow, some way, basically, the game could be taken away from us as the gamers, right? That's the reality of it, which opens up a can of worms, because we've talked about in the past where, I think even you mentioned in a topic last week, somebody having a digital product in their library being just taken out of their library, right? Mm-hmm. This is the kind of situation that we're going to be in. And I think that it's really bad because, if you paid for it, it's way past the statute of limitations or something like, can you get a refund for it 8 months later? Can you? Is it something that you can get a refund for? Is it possible, or you just lose your money because Nintendo is mad, or you lose a game because Nintendo is mad? Like, People still like the game. They play it. I mean, a lot of people pretty much was already done with it at this point. It's not an ongoing it's not an ongoing game where, you know, like Fortnite. It had its limits, but once you did everything you could have done in Power, that would have been the end of it. But yeah, I don't like it. I really think the main thing I want to also mention is Nintendo literally only does this to who they think they have power over. But if you notice, and I really wanted to make a real video on this, the people are really going to get an exclusive, because I'm going to try to do a real video on this at some point, which will pretty much like sever any type of like Nintendo. I'll never get a code ever again when I point this out. But if you notice, Nintendo never ever took a shot at Amazon. And I know people will be like, what? Really hear me out for a second. How long has Amazon been having those 801 games on their storefront with them systems that look just like a N6, not like, yeah, like a NES or a Super Nintendo? How many times has Amazon put up on their storefront, you know, a device that's like a hard drive that has all these games in it, including GameCube, including the Wii, and including the Switch? Right? If anybody out there who's been watching some of these gaming channels that are a little bit bigger, shout out to I think RGT85. Shout out to him. He was somebody who showed off this device. It was a hard drive, and people started buying it after he showed this off. It's a hard drive that costs like a little over $200, and it has like 100,000 plus games on it from all different genres, generations, and stuff. But most specifically, it has new games from the Switch. It has Bayonetta 3 on there. It has Bayonetta's like Cereza, I would think was her name. It even has Scarlet and Violet on there, right? It has a lot of new Nintendo Switch games. Nintendo never sent a cease and desist to Amazon. Ever. And that stuff is still there. And really, do you think, let's really be clear here, is Nintendo going to send some sort of cease and desist where they're going to literally tell Jeff Bezos that we have to own Amazon now? How absurd would that have been? They would laugh that right out. They wouldn't even care what the lawsuit would be for. They would laugh that right out the building. But that's the kind of thing that happened to them ROM channels with the people who they put in jail. Do you think they would put Jeff Bezos in jail? No. Absolutely not. Jeff Bezos wouldn't go to jail because somebody was selling Nintendo ROMs on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? When it's the big guy, it's the giant, they're radio silent. They've been having that stuff going on for years, and we've never seen Nintendo do it. I've seen those 801 machines inside of Best Buy as well. Nintendo's not going to do that to Best Buy. You know why they're not going to do that to Best Buy and they're not going to do that to Amazon? Because if Amazon pulls those games from their storefront, they take a major hit. Especially right now in the time frame where people don't want to have physical media in the stores. Imagine if people don't want to have physical media in the stores and Amazon takes down Nintendo hardware and software off of their storefront. You know what I'm saying? But where's the cease and desist towards Amazon, Nintendo? Where's the cease and desist to Amazon? You know what I mean? We'll do this to like people who is the quote unquote the little guy. They're not going to do that to the giants.
No.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Yeah, because I can't really respect that when you really think about it. Like, if they was doing it to everybody and they didn't care, it's like, okay, you know. But a bully is a bully, right? This is an old school bully. An old school bully is somebody who will pick on a little person, right? But when it's somebody bigger than them, somebody their size, they're scared. They're not going to fight back. And I feel like Nintendo is absolutely aware. If you can go to like a random person's Discord to try to fight your way into somebody's Discord, you absolutely are aware that this stuff is just sitting on the storefront on Amazon. You know what I'm saying? You know it's there. and you don't even have to do nothing to search it. You could just search like regular like terms like Switch and hard drive, and you will find a bunch of them where people put that stuff up there. You know what I mean? And I just feel like, yo, you kind of that's I don't know. I don't respect that. I don't know. I don't have to call them too many names, but it's still like go after Amazon. I want to see the cease and desist for Amazon. For anybody who's a Nintendo fanboy that's watching this, please send Nintendo every link that you find that's illegal stuff from Amazon directly to them, and ask them to cease and desist Amazon, and see how long it take them. You're gonna be waiting forever. They ain't gonna do it. They're not gonna do it. Anyways, I mean, we can beat this up for a long time. I think this might be ongoing unless we just get a breaking news where Palworld like gives up. I really hope that they don't. They're in a position where they can just make a make a sequel and stuff, because they made a lot of money. Because that game was only like $30, and it was like 10 million plus people just bought it. It was just crazy, and it was also set. I think it was supposed to also come to PlayStation at one point too. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I think we can move on. Was there any other things that you wanted to mention on this?
Nope. Nope, you said it all.
All right, yeah, we went a long ways. I was actually looking at the screen because I just was looking at some other stuff because we're still dragging and dropping stuff that we'll talk about later. But somehow Kirby like came off the screen early. I'm like, that was supposed to last 40 minutes. Like, we just went right through God of War footage. So I don't know what happened, but hey,
I told you we were gonna go in on Nintendo. That was what I said.
Yeah, it was supposed to last 30 minutes, so I don't know. But anyways, we still working at it. I'm gonna go into the next scene where we just talk about Epic Games real quick, and then I've talked about this forever. So everybody who understands, they should be cultured enough to know you don't need to have a credit card or debit card to get Epic Games. You just need to create a profile, and you can start saving some of the stuff. Not as much stuff this week as last week. Last week, I think, was my birthday episode. That one had like a whole bunch of free games. It didn't make no sense, right? This time, we just got the two games that we mentioned from last week, which I believe one of them was called Tolem, and then The Last Aftermath, which is available now until September 26th. And the next week, from September 26th to October 3rd, is actually only one game this time. They went back to one game, and it is The Spirit and the Mouse. Very interesting title. Sounds very creative. I don't know what that's about, but go check that out whenever y'all have a chance. What do you think that's about? The Spirit and the Mouse? I don't even know.
I think it's going to be one of those, those cute platformers where you're in the middle of the forest and you're going to play as the mouse, and the spirit's going to be kind of your guide. That's what I'm guessing.
Probably. I'm big on platformers. Shout out to platformers. I'm not going to let it die. But yeah, so that's all I really have as far as the free games. Again, you just need to create a profile, put a gamer tag in there, and then if you don't have a PC, once you get a PC, you'll have access to all these games. You can even, play it on the handhelds too, the Steam Deck, the Rogue Ally, etc. There's a bunch of them out there now, right? Yeah, and then I think we can move forward. We're gonna jump into PlayStation. How you feel about this PlayStation 30th anniversary bundle set, the gray and the black and the original logo? How you feel about that?
It looks cool. Whenever they do the classic, like, hey, look at our old school, it looks like the PS1, always looks cool. I want the controller, not the DualSense Edge controller, but the regular DualSense. I want that controller.
Yeah, I think the DualSense Edge looks slightly better, but I do want the regular controller as well.
Oh, it does. I just don't want to spend the money on it.
Yeah, it's funny because I know the internet was a little torn on it for a second, because they were really into bashing the PS5 Pro, like let's say last week,
Rightfully so.
and then now they're a little bit more open to it just because of how this one looks. I almost feel like they should have just came out with this bundle when they introduced it
That should have
initially.
been the solely PS5 Pro. Like, it should have been the original announced PS5 Pro, should have been the 30th anniversary version. Right? Because
Yeah.
then you can argue they're releasing a special edition PS5 with even better blah, blah, blah for the 30th anniversary. Not saying, hey, like, I feel like it could have been phrased better. Remember how last week we were talking about how he
Yeah.
went on here, it was just like, hey, you've been playing the games on the weak system. You need to buy this new one. They could have just said, we're releasing a 30th anniversary system to celebrate 30 years. And not only that, it's going to also now be even better with like this processing and this processing. Because then on top of that, the minor improvements that it may have could just be, this is what we can do now for the 30th anniversary. The price is still ridiculous,
Yeah.
but people would at least argue, well, it's the special edition. Right? And then afterwards say we're making white ones for the Pro, blah, blah, blah. But this should have been the standard one, I think.
Yeah.
Still stupid. The price is still dumb. I'm still not going to get it. I'm still not getting it for the price. I'm still not seeing the need to upgrade a PS5. But that should have been the way they went about it.
Now it does look very good, but I do have a couple bones to pick with this a little bit. It's not really advertised or anything, but apparently the plates and everything is only for the PS5 Slim and the newer ones, right? Like there are no plates or any like there's no 30th anniversary plates that have been advertised for anybody who has the original PlayStation 5. If you have the Slim, then you can put the plates on the Slim, but you can't put
Really
it
want you to
on.
just go digital.
Yeah, you can't put it on the original one. What's also interesting about this, because it also brought something to my attention that I originally didn't even think about, but I didn't know there was a whole separate plate for the disk drive itself. I forgot. I didn't really think about it, but that has a plate on its own. So if you're somebody who bought like the PS5 Slim, right, you have to have the regular plate. It's like 3 pieces of the plate. Like on the disk drive part, it goes on the drive, and then it goes on the little part above it, right? And so that's a little anti-consumer in my opinion, because now we're paying for a whole bunch of stuff just to upgrade the look of your device. I expect the controllers to still work on the regular PS5, so I think people are okay there. But you can't do the full get up. You're gonna have to look for like a knockoff plate that somebody just makes from like maybe D brand or maybe just somebody on Amazon. But the 30th anniversary official plates are only for the newer versions of the PS5. Another thing I don't like is apparently they're only making like 12,500 of these things, I think. It was either 12,500 or 12,300 or something, but basically it's a finite amount.
It was 12,300. They said it was to, I think it was supposed to celebrate because I think it dropped December 3rd.
Yeah,
So
but
they're trying to say 12,300.
But you know what that means, right? You know what that means.
Oh, scalpers.
Absolutely, and there's gonna be bots all over it. Like if I sat here and I had the money, if it's gonna cost like 800 or plus or something, and let's say I have the money and I want it, if I'm not like taking a day off from work, even then, like you have to take a day off from work, sit there at the computer and hope you quick enough, basically, because that's gonna go quick. That's gonna go that same day. So if you are somebody who really did want this, like no judging, if you really want to spend the money to do this, if you don't buy it day one, it's gone. It's on eBay at that point, basically. So that's the other thing that I don't like. I'm hoping that the controllers, they actually give you a real amount of the controller, Because I would like to get it, but I don't want to feel like I need to get it immediately. I want to just be able to, just walk into a store and just get it, like a GameStop or something.
I doubt that. Like you're gonna have to. It's gonna be ordering online the moment it drops because you can't even get the Astrobot one. But,
yeah,
so
that's unfortunate because I don't got that kind of time. If you're a grown man who got real life responsibilities, we don't got that kind of time.
Online at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Go buy something. You at work.
And then at the same time, if let's say you did take it off, there's no guarantee that you still get it. You know what I mean?
And what you kind of look like taking off of work to buy a controller.
Yeah, you only gonna have like 30 seconds, and if you're not quick enough, that's it. You're trying to type in your information while it's in the cart, and then it gets stripped from the cart. So those type of things I don't like. I really don't like that. I really do want that controller. Initially, there were 2 PlayStation 5 controllers that I wanted to get, and I was actually going to wait till Black Friday. It was going to be the all black one and the black and light blue one. Now it looks like I wanted to get the 30th anniversary one with it, but it looks like I might not even be able to get it once I heard about these bundle amounts and stuff. And I don't know if they made that many of the controller either, but if they did, it's like kiss it goodbye, basically. The Xbox controller that I got recently was the all blue see-through one that was called the Sky Cipher, right? That wasn't too much of a hassle to get outside of like the GameStop story that I mentioned from last week. Yeah. But I was still able to go on Amazon. Shout out to Amazon, right? Like the same night, and then just get it for no problem. I want to be able to just simply buy that controller with no problem. I would imagine, is all of this stuff dropping when the Pro drops, or did they give a release date? Is it December 3rd?
Funny enough, no. I think it's like November something.
Yeah, I think it drops when the like if you don't know the exact date, you're not gonna think about it right then and there. You know what I'm saying? It's like they almost like you have to remember the date as if it was your birthday or something. So it's like you would just be like, oh yeah, this thing is out, and then you check, and then it's just not available. It's like, come on, bro, come on. But yeah, I do think it looks good. Even the PS5 Pro version, it looks good. It's just that one's probably going to be a little bit overpriced. Hopefully anybody out there that wants it, they can still get it. I'm hoping that everybody who does want it does get it, because you're a real consumer with real money. You know what I mean? Yeah, other than that, I think we can move on to some other topics involving PlayStation that are really silly. I'm gonna go to the first couple topics before we go to the other longer ones. But apparently this was a mini topic that happened within the week. Apparently people who was working on the PS5 Pro, they played like Alan Wake 2 on it, and Alan Wake 2 at one point was dropping to like the 800p range. And that was a whole thing. I guess it was 864p, and that sparked up conversation because obviously this thing is supposed to be superior than the regular PS5, and there should be no reason why it drops below 1080p for any reason, right? Because it's supposed to be 4K and 60 at the same time, 4K 60 frames. But that was a thing. Another thing, this was actually going to be a solo video that I was going to do, but I just couldn't do. But people were speculating that the price of the PS5 Pro might end up being the base price of the PS6 if there's a PS6, just because of looking at the the PS4 Pro versus the price of the PS5. Like the price of the PS5 went up by $100, and people are thinking that when the PS6 comes out, it's going to be $700 standard. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, say that again? I'm sorry, how much?
People think that when the PS6 comes out, that it's going to come out with the same standard price as the PS5 Pro. Like the PS5 Pro is setting the standard for the next generation as far as price.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I still think the 700 price tag is stupid. Like I feel like once you start passing, like honestly, once you start passing 500, the
Yeah.
question is really why don't you just get a PC? Like
Yeah.
in my head, it's just like it's just get the PC, because you could do more. Like they're really, I understand it's like the new technology, that it's putting in and then like the price and everything, but it's like there's a point where it's just like, dude, you're asking for too much. Like you're asking for too much. This is like they're spending that much money to maybe play for most adults like to play Call of Duty on weekends.
Yeah.
Come on now, like no, stop going up and like you're again. This PS5 has not done what it's promised to do on the box.
Yeah.
Like, and you're already now you want to start charging more? No, 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 no. Horrible idea.
Yeah. If we find out that it is a $700 price tag for the PS6, is it a day one buy for you, or are you done with it?
No, I don't think I'm buying a PS6. I think the PS5 is probably going to be my last generation before I like fully just jump to PC. Part of why I want the PlayStation for the exclusives, really. But if they're going to be moving all the exclusives to PC, then there is no reason to spend that much money on a new console. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a day one buy, and it's definitely not a day one buy if you still have to buy it the way they've been doing. Like this last one where I said I don't want it until I walk into a store and GameStop just happened to contact me. It was just like, you're a pro member, so we have some in the store. But like, I'm not gonna sit there and like, I want to just be able to casually walk in and see it, and try to buy one. And they got some in the back or something like that. I don't need this like me competing for it. Like I don't want none of that.
Yeah, I would like to casually just go into stores and get the items that I want. I remember thinking at one point where there was a time frame where like 4 or 5 people was like in the store looking for one item, and the item was not there. And I remember thinking to myself, like, for them trying to do this artificial scarcity thing, they kind of cost themselves like 4 or 5 sales. You know what I mean? Because it's like if you had all of the items in the store, then everything would have been there and available, and then you would have made 4 or 5 times the money. But because you do this artificial scarcity thing, now you're not making all the money. Basically, the scalpers can make the money, and you don't get it. And like with PlayStation right now, that's actually the disc drive. That was another topic. After the unveiling of the all digital PS5 Pro, everybody started scalping the disc drive. And the disc drive is like only available right now under PlayStation, their PlayStation Direct website. That's not something you just get in stores, not even at GameStop. I don't think they have that in stores. But it's unavailable on the website, and then on eBay it's like going for like double the price. And this is just the disc drive, which is crazy. You still have to buy the slim model or the pro model. You still have to buy the plates. You know what I'm saying? Like all this money you get now, and then you might end up getting Alan Wake 2, and then at some point it might dip to 800p at the end of the day. And it's just like, yo, what are we doing? But that's where we're all with that. I guess we can move on to still in the PlayStation topics, but have you seen the official announcement of Horizon Zero Dawn Remaster?
Yeah, that's stupid. It's not gonna look even better. Like, just leave it alone. This is silly. It sucks when you have a game like Astrobot out, and to be honest, it's like there's bots that I'm getting in there that it's like I don't even know what game this is referencing. Like it's something I've never heard of in there, and it's just like you are reminded. It's like you got all this stuff, and it's like PlayStation, what you gonna do with it? And they're like remaster Horizon.
Yeah. It's interesting because I remember Horizon Zero Dawn was a game that people used to benchmark their PCs at one point when it did go to PC. I remember at first it was a rough port, and then they got it right. And then on PlayStation 5, they were already moving on to play to Horizon Forbidden West, but you were still able to play the PS4 version of Horizon on your PS5, and then there was the PC version, and it was just fine. Now, the crazy part about it is the PC version. I don't know what the difference really is going to be, but it was already put on PC, and they're literally going to do the remastered version on PC and just charge you again. But it's not going to have that much difference. It's going to be the same kind of difference as Last of Us Part 1 was, right? But here's the PC version. But the difference with Last of Us Part 1 and Horizon Zero Dawn is there was already Horizon Zero Dawn on PC. With Last of Us, it was only on PS3 and PS4, and then you could play it on PS5, right? So when they did the remaster, they're just like, okay, here's the official PS5 version. It's like, well, that's kind of useless. But the PC version, it's like, okay, there's some justification here, right? Because it's like there was no official Last of Us on PC. There's already there's an official Horizon on PC. That's the funny part about this, and it's just like, yo, what are we doing? There's no way. They're really money gouging. I think this one and the next game I'm going to mention is probably making up for Concord. It's probably also making up for, games that have failed in between, that were like games that just didn't do as well as they hoped. I think some of those director's cuts throughout the years and stuff, I think some of that stuff was also making up for the lack of sales that they probably didn't get, that they thought they were going to get from the original release, and also for games like Destruction All Stars and stuff, because at one point they wanted to charge $70 for Destruction All Stars, yeah, and so I think they're looking at the idea of charging the same player more, the one person who is supporting them. They want to charge them more, basically, because they can't bring in anybody new. It's the same situation that we have with Xbox and the Game Pass $20 situation and stuff. I don't believe all of it is for inflation. Like, these are some rich companies, you know what I'm saying? They're not all for inflation, but yeah, I think you muted. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah. Now this game, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, is official. That is going to happen. But right now the next game is not official, but it's right now in the rumor phase. But apparently they're supposed to be doing the same thing with Days Gone. And what's actually interesting too about Days Gone is literally Days Gone already has the PC version, and the PC version has like the biggest audience for the game. That's what really rejuvenated the game. And we already know that the game is not supposed to get a sequel, right? And the people who made Days Gone are still salty to this day. They keep saying a whole bunch of stuff, but it's just like, yeah, Days Gone originally was on PS4. It had a very rough release on PS4, and then they actually have a PS5 version, and I own that version digitally, and I have the PS4 version physically. And when they did the PS5, like, I guess upgrade, that one was free. I don't know if you remember. That one, you just had to put the disc in, or if you had PS Plus, I think the PS Plus collection at the time, that was free. If you had that. And then that version was supposed to mirror the PC version, and then after that it's just based on your specs. That was already out there. But apparently they're trying to get, their own, remaster of this as well. And we're hearing that this might become official probably very, very soon, because all that information just kind of went out when the bundle went out. It was almost like leaked information, similar to how the Switch information went out when the Palworld information went out. But yeah, they're really just at the point where they're very bold with it. They're just recharging you for the stuff that you've already bought, the stuff you've already played. And I don't know who else needs this game that doesn't already have access to going to get this game. But I mean, you would already have to be on PC or PlayStation as it is. And it's literally on there with the patch, with the 60 FPS patch on PS5. So I don't know. Maybe they can argue this version works the best with the PS5 Pro, but that's the only thing that they can go off of if that's the case. Because everybody else already has the best version of this game, in my opinion. What do you think? You're muted.
My bad. I don't think they need to re-release these games. Like, I feel like if you already have an upgrade for it, you're good. If there isn't a significant upgrade, just do something else. Like, what is this, like, remaster of a game that's, like, 3 years old? Like, to me, if it still looks good, there's no reason to update it. So it's just, they're just wasting time and money.
We're at the point now where we're remastering games that's on the same console.
Exactly.
That doesn't make no sense to me at all. No sense whatsoever. But yes, we're on the same console remastering the same games. And everybody, like, I feel like the people who played this was going to play it. I don't think it's going to reach anybody new.
Nope.
You're going to have the people out there who have the FOMO who's going to absolutely buy into this. But it's not reaching anybody new. There's no way it's going to reach anybody new. Absolutely not. But yeah, I think we're kind of out of topics. I don't know anything else you really want to mention. If there's anything at all. You got anything else?
No. I just need these companies to stop being so greedy. And I know they won't. But, like, Nintendo just trying to sue little people for no reason. PlayStation just, like, making egregious, like, moves. And I know a lot of them, you mentioned this earlier with the internet getting upset about, like, you're just bashing it. And now it's like, ooh, look at the 30th anniversary edition. Just because they made something look good does not remove from the fact of all the crap that they're doing. Right? Like, it's not a good move, bad move sort of situation. I look at it as just, here's one nice positive thing out of this sea of just bad. And
yeah,
companies to do better.
It's a very, very strange situation. Imagine, like, you remember GoldenEye on the N64, right? 007 GoldenEye. It was revolutionary for its time because we did not have a bunch of, like, first-person shooters like that back then, right? Imagine if GoldenEye decided we are the only ones who can release a first-person shooter. They said they had a patent. They said they had, something, and if you did it, we're going to sue you. Imagine that. And they did that then, basically. What would first-person shooters be now? We wouldn't be able to have one. There would be no Activision because there would be no Call of Duty, right? There would be no other first-person shooter, period. But this is the goofiness of Nintendo right now, where it's like, we're the only ones who can do this or something like that. It's like, homie, like, imagine if somebody did that in the 90s with, like, platforming games or something. Or if somebody did that in the 80s or something with the side-scrolling games. It's like, we would have never had gaming. Gaming would have been ran out. It would have never made it to the streaming era. It would have never made it to this era right now. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's all we got for you here. Why are we in person? we are going to work on the RG40 XXV device, making sure they both have mine and his both have all of the ROMs and available. Use up the available space that we can to make sure that device is the most ultimate device. That is why we're here. We're also going to hang out. We hang out all the time. And other than that, for you to know, everything has already downloaded, so we're good.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's all we got for you here. I think the Palworld thing is going to be a developing story. I don't know if it's going to be a long-term thing. I really think it's going to come down to whether or not a judge is a Nintendo fan or not. And most likely the judge is going to be a Nintendo fan, and they're not going to even heard of Palworld. But we'll see what happens. Anybody out there who has the game, I would say just keep playing it as much as you can right now. It is going to be a serious, ugly can of worms if somehow, some way, it's snatched out of people's hardware, like libraries and stuff.
Yep.
I don't know how that would work, but there's like no way we can let that happen. Last thing I want to say before we get out of here, where is the people who was trying to block the Xbox deal? Like, where are you people at? Like, you're not doing your job at all. I feel like this is on the same level of the type of thing you was trying to do. You should be here to do something about this. You know what I mean? It's like these people, like, where are these people at? Everybody who's trying to block Microsoft. They need to step in with this situation. This is just as relevant as the Activision deal, in my opinion. For something that, you know, when we're talking about legal, who's doing what, like, they should step in here. Like, I feel like you should not be suing, because for everything they was trying to stop Xbox from doing, I feel like that should be everything they should be stopping Nintendo from doing.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, those are my thoughts. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I do apologize if there was any echoing. I'm gonna try to listen to it back, but
Oh, I'm sure there was. I heard myself a couple times.
yeah, there's probably a little bit, but we're doing the best that we can. We were just hanging out in person. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do my homework so that if this does happen the next time around, I'll be a lot more prepared, because there's been plenty of podcasts where I've seen people sitting right in front of each other and they didn't have this kind of issue. So I'm pretty sure we'll figure it out, because they figured it out. But yeah, we'll catch you probably next week, and peace.